For a good many years now, I've traveled this country and others, speaking to folks just like you, good people searching for something better in life. And one of the questions I get asked most often is this: what do you do when you feel lost? When the road ahead seems foggy, when the dreams you once had start to fade, and you wonder if anyone up there is even paying attention? Well, tonight I want to talk to you about that very thing. The topic is simple but profound: feeling lost. God cares about you. You see, life has a way of throwing us curves. One day you're on top of the world, the next you're wandering in the wilderness asking yourself, how did I get here? But here's what I've learned, and what I've seen change lives over and over. No matter how lost you feel, you're never truly alone. There's a higher power that sees you, knows you, and cares deeply about where you are and where you're headed. So let's explore this together. Let's look at 4 key ideas that can pull you out of that lost feeling and set your feet on solid ground again. Keynote number 1: everyone feels lost at times. It's part of the human journey. But it's what you do in those seasons that defines your future. No, ladies and gentlemen, feeling lost isn't a sign of weakness. It's not a flaw in your character or a punishment for past mistakes. It's simply a chapter in the story of every successful, growing person I've ever known. Think about it for a moment. The Bible is full of people who felt utterly lost. Moses wandering in the desert for 40 years, David hiding in caves, running from Saul, even Jesus himself crying out on the cross, feeling forsaken. And yet, in those very moments of deepest disorientation, something powerful was happening. God was preparing them for something greater. I've seen it in business too. I remember when I was 25 years old, broke, confused, and wondering if I'd ever amount to anything. I felt lost, like I'd taken a wrong turn somewhere and couldn't find my way back. But that season of feeling lost forced me to ask better questions. It pushed me to seek wisdom, to change my philosophy, to work harder on myself than I did on my job. And out of that wilderness came the breakthroughs that shaped the rest of my life. The truth is, feeling lost is often the prelude to finding your true direction. It's like the farmer who plows the field before planting the seed. The ground looks torn up, disrupted, lost in a sense. But that's exactly what's needed for the harvest to come. If you're feeling lost right now, don't fight it too hard. Don't despair. Recognize it for what it is, a signal that it's time to grow, time to seek, time to turn your eyes upward. Let me tell you a story I've shared before, but it fits here perfectly. There was a man who built a beautiful boat. He worked on it for years, pouring his heart and skill into every plank and sail. When it was finished, he launched it with pride. But soon a storm came, fierce and unexpected. The boat was tossed about, driven far from shore, and the man felt completely lost at sea. He cried out in fear, wondering if he'd ever see land again. Days passed, weeks. But then, one morning, the storm cleared, and there on the horizon was an island more beautiful than any he'd ever imagined, rich, with resources, perfect for building the life he'd always dreamed of. That storm, that feeling of being lost, had actually carried him to his destiny. That's how it works, friends. When you feel lost, it's often because God is redirecting you. He's closing doors that no longer serve you and opening ones you couldn't see before. But here's the key: you have to cooperate with the process. You can't just drift aimlessly. You have to set your sails toward faith. Faith, you see, is the antidote to feeling lost. It's the ability to see the island even when the storm is raging. Hebrews tells us that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. When you're lost, Faith says, I may not know exactly where I am right now, but I know who's navigating this ship. God cares about you. Every detail, every tear, every confused step. He hasn't abandoned you in the wilderness. He's walking through it with you. Now, let's dig deeper into why this matters so much, because if you misunderstand these seasons of feeling lost, you can waste them. You can grow bitter instead of better. You can blame circumstances or other people instead of taking responsibility for your response. But if you understand that God uses these times to refine you, to teach you, to draw you closer to Him, then you start to see the value in them. Consider the prodigal son. He left home with everything he needed, thinking he had it all figured out. But soon he found himself lost, feeding pigs, hungry, broke, alone. That lost feeling was excruciating. It was also the turning point. It drove him back to his father's house. And what did he find there? Not judgment, not rejection, but open arms and a celebration. Why? Because the father never stopped caring. He was watching the road every day, waiting for his lost son to come home. That's God with you right now. He's not angry that you're lost. He's not disappointed. He's waiting, watching, ready to run to you the moment you turn toward Him. He cares about your pain. He cares about your confusion. Psalm 34 says He is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. If you're feeling lost tonight, know this: God is closer than He's ever been. But let's be practical for a moment, because philosophy without action is just daydreaming. What do you do when that lost feeling hits? First, acknowledge it. Don't pretend everything's fine when it's not. Be honest with yourself and with God. Pour out your heart like David did in the Psalms. Half of them are cries from a man who felt lost and pursued by enemies. Second, start seeking. The Bible says, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. Seeking isn't passive, it's active. It's reading the Word daily, even when you don't feel like it. It's praying honestly, even when answers seem slow. It's surrounding yourself with people who point you toward truth, not just echo your confusion. Third, start small steps of obedience. When you're lost in the woods, the worst thing you can do is sit down and wait for rescue without moving. You start walking, looking for signs, following the light. In life, that means doing the next right thing. Show up for work with excellence. Be kind to your family. Serve someone else. These small acts of faith build momentum and clarity. I've watched thousands of people transform their lives this way. A woman comes to me after a seminar, tears in her eyes, saying she's felt lost for years after losing her husband, but she starts applying these principles, acknowledging her pain, seeking God daily, taking small faithful steps. And within months, she's leading a support group, helping others who feel the same way. The lost feeling didn't disappear overnight, but it became purposeful. It became the soil for new growth. Or take the young man who felt lost in his career, dead-end job, no passion, no direction. He starts studying, changing his associations, working on his mindset while trusting God for guidance. 2 years later, he's running his own business, employing others, living with purpose. The wilderness season wasn't wasted, it was necessary. You see, God doesn't just care about getting you out of the lost place. He cares about what He develops in you while you're there. Patience, resilience, dependence on Him instead of self. compassion for others who are wandering. These are treasures you can't buy or fake. They're forged in the fire of feeling lost. Let me share something personal. There was a time in my own life when success came quick and I started to drift. I felt lost spiritually, even with all the outward achievements. Money in the bank, crowds cheering, but inside, empty, directionless. It scared me. In that season, I learned to lean harder on God than ever before. I rediscovered that true success isn't just financial or professional, it's spiritual alignment. It's knowing you're in the center of God's will, even when the path is unclear. And here's the beautiful irony. The more lost I admitted I was without Him, the more found I became in Him. God cares enough to let us feel lost sometimes, because He knows it drives us to the only source that can truly orient us. Think about a shepherd with a lost sheep. Does he scold it for wandering? No. He leaves the 99 and goes searching, rejoicing when he finds it. That's God's heart for you. You're not a nuisance. You're not forgotten. You're valuable enough that He pursues you relentlessly. So if you're here tonight feeling lost in your marriage, your finances, your health, your purpose, lean into that first keynote. Embrace it as part of the journey. Let it awaken your faith. Let it remind you that God cares deeply, personally, passionately about you. Because when you grasp that truth, that you're never truly lost in His eyes, you start to walk differently. You start to live differently. You start to lead others out of their wilderness because you've learned the way through yours. And that's just the beginning. This is only the first step on the path to discovering how profoundly God cares and how He turns our lost seasons into stories of redemption and victory.